Hello everyone and happy Tuesday. My internet provider is down, so I'm stuck on 3G, so we'll just go with it. But if you watch the happenings around the world, Trudeau has reverted to form and he has basically declared martial law. Now, one thing I will say, Canada does not have the same oaths that our military and police force do. They are not tyrant forces. Okay, they're not the same as the Redcoats were in the 1700s, but they are not bound to an ideal like the Constitution. I still believe, as others do, that a large percentage of them, better than 50, will refuse to subjugate the Canadian people. But you'll have more than you would in America, I believe. That said, Trudeau already invited China to a war game in Canada. China knows the terrain, and China is, of course, friendly to tyrants. So it's very possible we may see Chinese military acting in Canada, basically to subjugate the people under Trudeau's rule. I would not be surprised to see elections canceled and to hear it's just not safe. We have COVID and we have these violent right-wing truckers who violently parked their trucks and violently stood and did nothing and violently told us no. So it is very possible we're going to see some crap happen in Canada before long. Now that said, there are questions about what would happen here. What would happen here, I believe, would be a far toned down version. Because as much as I would love to believe that 100% of those who go into the U.S. military truly mean every word when they swear that oath of enlistment or commission, we know that there are bad eggs in every industry. So that would stand to reason that there are those in the U.S. military who, if told, well, we're just suspending the Constitution, go subjugate the country, there are those who would say, well, you're paying the bills. The good thing is they are in an extreme minority. I'm talking 10, maybe 15%. And the good thing is they're really not in the jobs that are going to be conducive. We saw a little miss, if I tell you to get in your home and you don't, you become the enemy. It was a truck driver. And not a combat truck driver, like a CDL Mack truck driver. So the good thing is, yeah, they have some experience with firearms, but not like infantry or artillery or spec ops or the rest. So the vast majority of the military, if told the Constitution is no longer in force, subjugate the country, they're going to say, well, my oath was to the Constitution, so my oath is not in force. I'm going home. And they're going to walk away. And they're not going to have time to fill the ranks with their thugs or any of it. And the veterans and the military walk away, cops, firefighters, and just plain old patriots. We're all going to be standing together, staring at those either red helmets with a star or blue helmets with a bunch of stars going, you feel froggy? Jump. Sadly, what this means is that there is going to be some violence, because the UN or China or both firmly believe they have a right to subjugate the planet. China has been a little bit smarter about it by trying to basically steal every idea from every country and get rich on it by doing it better or first on the market. TVs, cars, whatever. They own the other app. That's why I'm not posting this there. The UN is run by tyrants from all over the world who firmly believe it is their right to rule as a tyrant. And sadly, we are an anomaly when it comes to our military. Most militaries swear an oath to the government. They simply swear an oath to obey orders. Ours doesn't. Ours swears an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So, our military has that extra little bit, and that's why the vast majority will say, well, no Constitution, my oath is gone. And you're going to see them standing alongside the rest of the patriots, firefighters, cops, and so on, and facing down the tyrant hordes sent towards us. One thing I will say, anything in Canada, the US, is going to pale in comparison to what's coming. As I've said, I firmly believe we are either in the last days before the end of days, if not the very beginning of the end of days. And what all does that mean? For those who have read Revelation, you'll know that aside from the 7 seals and the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls, basically God pouring out his wrath on the earth, the sun will be as sackcloth, the moon will be as blood, a third of the creatures in the ocean dead, the poisoning of the water, and so on. The mark of the beast. There is a prophecy of a Gog and Magog war. Now, we don't exactly know who Gog and Magog are. We know very limitedly about what's coming. We know that it will be centered around Israel. Israel is God's chosen country. They're God's chosen people. Even if, under the Jewish faith, Christ is not the Messiah, Israel still is God's chosen people and country. So, we know that the nations of the world will align against Israel. A lot of them already are. UAE, Iran, Iraq, Syria, whatever you want to call Palestine. They all hate Israel because they want what Israel has. That being a fertile country with oil. Never mind that Iran or Iraq or Syria could easily use technology to grow crops, and they have far more oil than Israel. They're jealous and they're selfish and they want it all. And we even have people in our own Congress that are dedicated to the eradication of the nation of Israel, which is somewhat comical, because these are the people who are screaming that we have to obey the UN and the WHO. It was the UN that reestablished the nation of Israel in 1948. Now, it is said that the generation that saw Israel reformed will not pass from the earth. A generation is roughly 80 years, which would mean that the generation born right around that time, which would be my parents' generation, will not pass from the earth, meaning they're not going to, this is not, it's not all of them, but the generation will still be here. So, my parents are 72 this year, much later than the year, but still. If we know that the tribulation is a 7-year time span, and a generation, we'll say, is 80 years, we don't have long. Not long at all. It's coming. We're seeing run-ups to it with the jab. I do not believe that the current vaccine, whatever you want to call it, is the mark of the beast. I don't understand genetic manipulation and genetics enough to really say what it is. I know that one of the doctors who was integral to the creation of an mRNA injection has said that it is dangerous, that it is genetics, that it is not good and we should not take it. I don't personally believe that it makes you no longer human. I just don't. I don't really understand enough of it, though. I understand enough of it not to take it. But it's not the mark of the beast, because the mark of the beast will be something that the Antichrist commands the world to take, or they will be killed. They will be shunned from society at first, unable to buy or sell. Ultimately, though, it will come down to, you will take this mark on your right hand or on your forehead, or you will be killed. I have said many times that we need to stop supporting companies that are opposed to our beliefs. Netflix tried their crap with a little movie about the French girls and basically child sex trafficking, and tried to blow it off as, well, it's cultural, but it's not your culture. There's all sorts of crap like that. Disney has proven to be far left. So has ABC, NBC, CBS, YouTube, Google, all of it. The only one I maintain is YouTube TV. And it's because where we are, we cannot get over-the-air channels, and any other option out there is far too expensive, and my parents need to be able to watch television. We all kind of need to be able to have that, even if it is just for the local channels. If we have inclement weather, we need to be able to get the alerts. But my mother enjoys it, my father does watch it, and it's the bare minimum I can do for them. But there is a company out there that I would very highly recommend. It is called PureFlix. Pure, P-U-R-E, PureFlix. It's run by David A.R. White. He was the pastor in God's Not Dead, who was on the jury and had appendicitis and so on. And it's a great platform. Family friendly. They have a lot of older TV shows, new TV shows, movies, and so on. Great platform. And there are a lot of movies about Revelation on that. I will say, having read the books and having seen the first movies based on them, and then the new one with Nick Cage, Left Behind, it's Hollywood. But Revelation Road and so on, which are produced by PureFlix, far better. And they show the push to take this mark or die. Left Behind never really picked up because they were doing it in Hollywood. And because of that, it never gained the traction it should have. But I would highly recommend PureFlix because it is faith-based and family-friendly, unlike so much else. I would also recommend that you get back into the Word, into your Bibles. Read Revelation. It is a roadmap of what to look for, what to watch for, signs and wonders. And quite honestly, I would urge you to get squared away, shall we say, with God. Because while you're not out of luck if the rapture happens and you're not a Christian, at the very end, when it comes down to take the mark or else, if you have that personal relationship with Christ, it's going to be far easier for you to say no than if you don't. Because I'll tell you, as a Christian, I know exactly what is going to happen the moment after my death. I'm going home. as a non-Christian, the moment after death, you're lost. You're in hell. And I'm going to say this very bluntly. God is not sending anyone to hell. We send ourselves. Okay? And you have to get rid of the ideas of, the show Lucifer, where you're stuck in a hell loop that's your own guilt, but you can escape and blah, blah, blah. None of that is true. None of it. Now, having likely alienated 50% or more, for anyone who's left, you need answers, you have questions. I'm here. There's a lot of people who are more than willing to talk. Pastors, deacons, music ministers, youth ministers, regular people who attend church. They're happy to talk because we know it is our commission to spread the gospel. We know that we've been commanded to. So leave your comment. Email me, contact@sheepdogsmoky.com. Talk to your friends, your neighbors who attend church. Ask those questions because you need to do it before it's too late. One thing I will say, and I encourage any Christians watching to do this. I have an envelope in my home. It is easily recognizable and easily visible right when you walk in. And it very simply says, if millions of people have just vanished, you've been left behind. In it is a flash drive and a note with how to get onto my computer to play that file. It goes over pretty much everything I've said here. Hell is not what you see in Lucifer. You cannot escape. It goes over the road to salvation. It goes over all of it. Because there will be tribulation saints. We know that people will be saved during the tribulation. So even if I'm not here, I want to make sure that people know what's going on. My home has several Bibles in it. I have built a collection of several Bibles over my life. There's just a lot we can leave that will help others. And quite simply, none of us are going to care once we're gone. If we're here through all of it, that note will stay up. If we're not, that note will be there. And the video on that flash drive, it says, there are tools in this house. There's food in this house. There's a bed in this house. I'm gone. Do with it what you will. And if by that I can help even one person think to ask questions, think to read the Bible, think to just not blindly follow what the world is telling them, and that's a good thing in my eyes. Like I said, none of us are going to be here at that point if that happens. If we are, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. If I'm banned on social media, I'll keep doing it. I'll stand on a street corner. There will come a point in time, if the rapture is not what we think it is, then there will come a time when I will not be able to hold a job. I will not be able to go to a store. Won't be able to get gas for my truck. None of it. I may be living in a tent in the woods or a cave in the mountains. But even then, I'll still be professing the gospel as loudly as I can. Because, quite frankly, they will have to kill me to get me to stop. And if they do, they're sending me home. I've said a lot. And I know this has been jumpy. I started off here thinking I would, post this as a video series on Clapper. But it ended up being longer than I thought it would be. So this is on YouTube and Rumble. And, you know, like I said, any questions you have, leave them in the comments. I do not tolerate bullying or harassment in my comments. Somebody starts it, I'll delete and block. If you just have questions, leave them. Talk to your local pastor, youth minister, music minister. Just people who go to church. It doesn't hurt anything to ask those questions. And quite simply, it could save your soul. And I know how cliche that sounds, but it's true. I am working on a podcast which probably will take over from this, although I'll still record when I'm doing the podcast, but it'll just be that. Keep your eyes open for that. I will announce it here, of course. Beyond that, you'll have a wonderful rest of your week, and may God bless you.